John Bowden from Rock History Music. Chase, can you just hand me that microphone over there? That happens sometimes. We go on live and we forgot. Oh, right, we have microphones and things that we can plug in. Some sad news today in the world of rock and roll. More interestingly, with this band, it's not just rock and roll. It's so many different genres that this band was involved in. A lot of different genres. Let me just make sure we've got our camera hooked in here. But Gentle Giant, yeah. Let me see if we got it back. There we go. Hold on. It's thinking. Well, it won't come back. That's okay. Anyway, getting to the news at hand. Gentle Giant was a band that I sort of discovered at the Edmonton Public Library. A lot of my folks knew that I liked Genesis, and they thought, well, if you like Genesis, and yes, you're going to like, if you're more adventurous, you'll like bands like, well, they said Kayak from Holland, or you'll like Gentle Giant, which are a culmination of all the bands mentioned, but a little more out there. They were classical, Baroque-ish, prog rock. Near the end, they went a little more pop for, I think, for the audience. They just wanted to get out there a little bit more, maybe make some money. It's interesting. Ian Anderson had said that one of the reasons he thought Gentle Giant did not make it big was because there was a lot of infighting between the brothers in the band. Now, I'd never heard that before. Derek Shulman, Ray's brother, we've interviewed on this show, and he never really mentioned that as a possible reason why the band. Hold on. There we go. We've got the big camera now. It seems to be working. But anyway, he died after a long illness. That's basically all they're telling us. Ray Shulman was 73 years old. And three brothers in the band. They were in Simon Dupree and the Big Sound. They had a hit called Kites, which at the time, I think before or after that, Elton John, Reginald Kenneth Dwight, was in the band, but he was kicked out of the band because the sound just wasn't right. Now, Derek Shulman recently, there's a picture of Derek, the lead singer of Gentle Giant, backstage with Elton John. So obviously they've made friends with each other and they're okay now. But let's go into their history just a little bit. Let me see if I can get this down here. There we go. There's the albums. And there's a lot like The Missing Piece, which is the green one on the bottom, which was an album that I really, really enjoyed. It was more of a pop album, more of a latter part of the band's success. But let me just go through it. Like I said, they touched on jazz, classical, rock, prog, medieval music, chamber. They were all multi-instrumentalists. Ray Shulman and his brother Derek and Carrie Minier were the main songwriters. Derek sang most of the songs. He was the showman. Ian Anderson also pointed out something that's kind of interesting. He said, as well as, hold on, if I can take this off here, as well as the fact that the Shulman brothers fought about music, he said, and he thought that was their downfall, or that's why they didn't keep the band going. Who knows what could have happened? Because at times, they sounded like Genesis, I found. And Derek Shulman's voice had a similar resonance to Phil Collins, and even Peter Gabriel at that point, because Peter and Phil, there was a crossing of the paths, the way they sang and the timbre in their voices. So I think Derek had that little bit. But anyway, let's talk about some of the music. Let me bring that back up here for you. There we go. So, one of their biggest albums as far as the United States, it doesn't show that much on Spotify right now, was Freehand from 75. That's on that list there. It was their highest charting album in the US. On Reflection, one of the tracks off that album, got some airplay on the FM. Their biggest tune on Spotify, though, is Aspirations from The Power and the Glory. That's got 4 million views. The next one is, and you can look at the albums now, is from Octopus, The Advent of Panurge. I don't think I'm saying that right. 2 million views. Proclamation is another one at 2 million views. And that's from The Power and the Glory. But like I said, my favorite album is from 77, The Missing Piece. Some great favorites on there. You're Only as Old as You're Young, which is sung by two of the guys, Derek being one of them, and Carrie. The opening track feels like Genesis. If you know the album at all, 2 Weeks in Spain sounds like Genesis. Then they have I'm Turning Around, which is sort of a ballad on that. There's a punkish song called Bet You Thought We Couldn't Do It. Great tune. But I've always, a lot of people say, no, that's not the album you want to introduce people to the Gentle Giant with. I'm going, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the take for me. Let me give you another picture here. There. That's the famous Gentle Giant, their mascot. Derek Shulman gave me a story, I'm going the wrong way, on that mascot. But there's the band down there drawn. And people who don't know who Gentle Giant are will recognize that little caricature of the Gentle Giant because they've seen it no matter what, whether you've listened to one of their albums or not. Getting back to the original point, of course, the word is that he had passed away after a long illness, and we're not there. They haven't said what that is, but Ray has left the building, and he died on Friday, but on the 30th, but it wasn't announced till yesterday, but it wasn't made official until today. Some folks thought it was an April Fool's joke this morning, but it certainly wasn't. Derek Shulman, the lead singer, has made a statement. Let me see if I can get, speaking of statements, see if I can get to yours. I had some here. Let me get back. Hold on. And there we are. Jack Collins. Hello, everyone from Louisiana. Chris Snodgrass, nice to have you on here, Chris. Hi, John. Kelly J. Conley, Glass Houses. Barry Giddy, sad, another one has left us. And I wanted to report on it yesterday, but when none of the band said anything, there was one journalist who reported on it yesterday, and he was a well-known journalist. I didn't know him, but a lot of people said he was prestigious and he knew he had word on the inside. But when it comes to this sort of thing, we have a tendency not to report on something until the official band says something. Let's see if I can get some of the pictures of the band. Here we go. Oh, there he is playing. Let me take this away. There we go. Now, if that's not a rapturous look, he played many instruments, the violin being one of them. He was the bass player, but he also sang. Derek, like I said, was the main singer, but all the band members in Gentle Giant sang. They were a little out there for most people. And I have to admit, having been a Genesis fan and a Yes fan for a long time, then getting into Gentle Giant, I remember thinking, this is a little meatier, a little bit more experimental than I was used to. But I got into them. I like Derek Shulman's voice an awful lot. And anyone who knows this channel know that we interviewed Derek maybe 3 years ago when they were starting the re-releases from the Gentle Giant albums. Let me just switch over here, see if we got another one. Oh, it's me again. So there you go. Not the most well-known band, but certainly if you're into progressive rock, they're a band that you do yourself a disservice if you don't at least go on Spotify or one of the streaming services and look at the popular songs and maybe go getting into the meatier stuff after that. Fraser J. Hey, Fraser J. John, you are alive. I know we haven't been on a long time because we just moved from the East Coast to the back to the West Coast to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and the learning curve has been a lot, and we're working on the studio. I'll probably come on again tonight to do a Today in History thing. So Fraser J, thank you. The move has been stressful, but we're back. Eddie Winan, sad. I just started getting into Gentle Giant's discography. Oh, there you go, Eddie. What do you think of it? It's different. Great band for the tone deaf. Tom Mack. They were You're only as old as you're young to me is a song that just stood out. When I heard that song, I remember going, there's got to be other things, because that was an introduction song. Someone played me this and they go, you're going to like this. If you like, he sounded like a minstrel. He sounded like Jethro Tull a little bit on that song. And I thought, okay, I'll get into it. So you know how it is. It's like when you get into a progressive band, you go into it slowly if it's not your ilk, if it's not your lane. And for me, it just kind of worked out. James Bashir's Saw Gentle Giant a couple of times. Rest in peace, Ray. Oh, cool. Never saw them because they lasted from 1970 to 1980. So it was a 10-year run. And Derek, not the guy who died, but the lead singer Derek got into A&R, was discovered quite a few rap artists, but more importantly, for the folks who especially go on this channel, he discovered Bon Jovi. He signed Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, and then they sort of built a band around him. So that was Derek. Ian Anderson, interestingly, said that he didn't feel that Derek Shulman was a comfortable frontman, even though I thought he was. He was hard on his feet. There was one thing, he was one of those guys that wasn't as flamboyant as he seemed to be. He wasn't walking on air like some other performers who did basically seem like Peter Pan on stage. So Derek kind of had he was heavy on his feet, but he moved around a lot, and I can see why Ian Anderson might have said that. But he thought the biggest problem with Gentle Giant was the fact that the three brothers fought, but they mostly fought about music, he said, when they shared the stage together. So again, as far as Ray, we don't know what the illness was. It's really not important at this point. But it was a long illness, and he passed away on Friday. It was rumored yesterday. Nothing substantial till the band released a statement today. I'd read it for you, but and I don't mean disrespect by this, but it was basically give us some time to grieve, and he was a great member. It was always Derek, Ray, and Kerry who wrote the songs for Gentle Giant, right? And they all sang, and they all played multiple instruments. And if you go, it's a good time to. It's always weird to say this, but when there's a passing, it's a good time to go in and go, well, I never had a chance to get into this band. Maybe I'll give it a try. Brother Ray, Greg Sales says. Oh, Ed says, it was different, but I liked it. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate your feedback. I thought the same way when I got into kayak in the early 80s in Edmonton. I bought a kayak album. They're a different sort of thing, but there's similarities where they could be goofy. Gentle Giants certainly were goofy at times and playful and bratty, and their songs, especially, well, all their albums, you'll have one song go up here, then you'll have a minstrel album, and you'll have a song rather, and something will be rockish. At times they sounded punkish. It was a ride. So I just want to say that. So thanks for everyone who came on today. We're working on the studio downstairs. I'm just in my living room. I've got good lighting because I have a huge window in front of me, and my son's over there on his computer doing his thing. But may he rest in peace. He looked like Derek a lot. He looked like his brother, but there was three brothers in that band, and they've been gone for a long time. I asked Derek when I interviewed him, like I said 3 years ago, will the band ever get back together? He says, I don't think I could go up there and do that anymore. He just didn't feel that the time had come. He had done it and had become a businessman, well-known, very successful businessman. And the other guys continued playing off and on together, but not as Gentle Giant. So there you have it. May he rest in peace. Remember, we have a podcast. We're going to put, it's not on the description now, but we're going to put our normal groups of things in the description of this video right after I get off here. So if you want to help the channel, there are ways you can help the channel. You can make a donation. You can join our Patreon where you get our videos early. Because we just uncovered 350 interviews that were all on reel-to-reel. And when you're digitizing reel-to-reel, you are putting them on a computer real time. And so it's about 350 interviews going back to the 80s. Some from, I think, a few from the mid-70s. The Who, Roger Daltrey backstage from the mid-70s with my first boss, Len Tucson. So there's a lot of that. Oh, I got a few comments. I'd be remiss if I didn't read these. John Uroso. I saw Gentle Giants in New York City. Gentle Giant, New York City in 74, and bumped into Ray and his girlfriend outside the theater. He was trying to get in through the main entrance, and it was locked. Kitty Care. Gentle Giant is a band that I haven't fully explored yet. I've heard superficially. Yeah, I think a lot of people have. I've only really listened to A Glass House, which I own. There you go. Thank you for everyone who came on today. I appreciate it. Thanks for your comments. There's Richie Henman's book is coming out this month. Oh, I gotta. Yeah, I've got his contact information, so I'm going to contact him. Yeah, speaking. This is April Wine, so I'm going to get onto that. Thanks, folks. We have a new interface now, so I'm trying to figure out how to get out of it. I will come on later on tonight, and I'll do a Today in History on our sister channel, Rock History Book. All the links will be in the description in about 5 minutes. If you want to support the channel, if you want to join our Patreon, they'll all be there. May he rest in peace. I'm John Bowden, Rock History Music.